The 734th edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code MMASGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus of up to $1,000. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm, the leader in data-driven picks and props. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
Heidi Ho DeGenerinos, welcome to episode 734 of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, dedicated to Billy Ray Valdez, who we're going to be covering today. Not just, that's a good name, but also his Tapology picture is A1. So everyone check it out. I am one of your hosts. I'm going to change my name soon, but I haven't said the nickname yet, so I'm still going to be Tip Sport Game Changer Fox. Welcome to the show. Sunday, we're back to a UFC week. So we've got LFA today, UFC again, episodes on Wednesday and Thursday. But yeah, LFA 199 is going down in Tachi Palace Casino Resort, the venue known for Tachi Palace fights for all you old heads. But they've got a full LFA card going down this coming Friday. So we are, as per usual, going to break it down for you on this here episode. My co-host, the man on the left, has handpicked the 5 fights he's most interested in. We'll give you full breakdowns on those, and then we shall do our lightning round at the end with any bonus picks. So let's bring in the man on the left. I guess you're officially 0-0 up 0 units on regional MMA this year. It's Daniel Gumby-Vreeland. Hello.
Yeah, 2 things. First of all, before we get into new year, new me, are you planning a nickname change? Is that what you're claiming?
Yes, there's a nickname coming up that is amazing, and I'm going to steal it.
You're gonna be the Rory McDonald here, changing nicknames all willy nilly and stealing other people's.
That's what I always do for crying out loud. I always steal.
Do you remember the OG Rory McDonald nickname?
The Water Boy. Yes, we talked about
Water Boy.
Yeah. And then what? He decided, and then he gave himself Red King or something stupid.
Red King, I think was
no,
third.
That was the last one.
I think there was one in between.
Aries.
I forgot. Yeah, what a terrible bunch of name changes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
my name changes are purely for humor, and there's some humorous nicknames coming up.
His should have been the failed GSP, because that's kind of what everybody thought he was.
GSP experiment.
Yeah, he was good though.
He was.
Secondly, what I was going to say after that is this is a pretty good fight card.
Good. Yeah,
I'm 0-0 at this point on the year, which is, it's fun to have a clean slate and to try to build it back up.
Not so much regional. You like to wipe out your UFC results, perhaps. So regional, you want to keep it rolling because you dominate. But anyway,
I don't know. I think it's kind of fun when you're starting fresh. You know, we started fresh at the beginning of last year too, when we were profitable in 23, we were profitable in 24, and now it's almost like trying to put together a big run, and it's more fun that way. And I actually think this is a pretty good card to start on in terms of that. So
good.
And for everybody who asked, we will also be in the process of tracking. I think we're going to do it separately, but we're going to be tracking the lightning round picks too. Because the ones we don't dig into as much, because somebody asked me, they go, man, you have got to be killing it because this guy and this guy won. And I was like, oh, those are lightning round picks. I don't even count those. And I can't remember who it was in the Discord that blew their mind that I wasn't even counting the lightning round stuff. So, I think the lightning round stuff usually goes maybe even better, because I'm like just cherry picking 2 prelims that I know are going to go my way. And so we'll be tracking both of those this year, and we'll be giving you periodic updates.
Yeah, there you go. Because it is harder if you're forced to pick. Okay, like with the UFC, we have to pick winners for every fight, so it makes it harder. But yeah,
we usually do the 5 top fights on just about all these fight cards, because I know you start everyone by saying, he picked his 5 favorite ones for LFA. I did go 4 out of the top 5 fights this time, and then I skipped 5 and did 6 just because one of the guys in 6 is like maybe the best fighter on the whole card, and it would have been silly not to talk about it. And then we threw out a fight, I think that was it? Did I skip Theo Haig, who's we'll talk about anyway? Yeah, that fight's dumb, but it'll be a lightning round pick anyway. Spoiler alert.
Regional cards don't usually fiddle around with their order. That they usually put the best fights at the top. UFC does not always do that, but usually if we're doing the top 5 fights, that they're also the best 5 fights in the card. So just unless there's intermissions, some of those European ones have intermissions and then, better fights before the intermission, but that's not the case here. Some fights did fall off, but you still like the fight card, but we had 3 fights that actually half the fight fell off and got a replacement. It's still,
I actually like the main event better now.
Oh, okay,
to be completely honest with you, I think it's more fun stylistically. It's Erick Visconde coming in here late. First of all, he should be prepared. That dude's always in great shape. And then second of all, that just makes it he's a really fun stylistic matchup for Farias.
Yep. Speaking of matchups, the NFL playoffs are here. Who the Cowboys match up with? I'm joking. I know. The NFL playoffs are here. Make sure you tune into the Sports Gambling Podcast for NFL picks and props, and obviously check out the website because I am making NFL picks. Apparently, I know about football. I won the fantasy football pool I'm in. I'm killing it on my NFL picks. So apparently, low key, somewhere deep inside, I have a bunch of football knowledge that I didn't realize I had. So, all right, now to the LFA knowledge. LFA 199 is what we've been talking about. Farias versus Visconde. Lemoore, California is where Tachi Palace Casino Resort is. In Lemoore, California. We got 12 fights. We're basically breaking down. In the end, you're going to get picks on more than half of them. It's a Friday night card, which is good because the UFC is back this coming Saturday. It's back, baby. So 10 p.m. UFC Fight Pass. It makes it easy. That's a good thing about LFA. High quality fights, they make it easy for you to actually watch it too. The full cards are on Fight Pass, right? They don't break down prelims or any of that stuff, right?
Sometimes you get 2 or 3 prelims on YouTube, and stupidly, they still sometimes wind up with 2 or 3 dark fights.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just occasionally. Sometimes their whole prelims are on YouTube, and sometimes I don't know if they just on the streaming bandwidth, or I don't know why they choose to not show us some of those early fights. Yeah. But sometimes those fights don't wind up on air. Some of those 0-0 versus 0-0 fights.
Yeah. There is, I'm not going to spoil anything because hopefully they show up in the lightning round, but there are some amazing names on this card. Of fights that we're not going to dive into. Okay,
he will.
Okay, just the one. So we're not Czar Charles. We're not going to talk about or Yusele Alves, but Shialor lad.
The one will wind up in there. Yeah.
The person who is fighting Shialor lad. So, okay. Yeah. I won't give out that name. Yeah. There's some amazing, not just nicknames, but amazing, interesting names in here. We're starting things off with featherweights. Rafael do Nascimento, a very good Brazilian name. He's from Brazil, versus Brandon Altomore. He is from the United States of America. 3 5-minute rounds, 145, as I said. Altomore is one of the late replacements. It's definitely a late one, right? I know it's a replacement, but it's fairly recent. Okay. No odds yet, because as per usual, we are ahead of the books. LFA odds usually midweek or a little bit earlier than that. You shall get them. We'll tell you about Altomore first. 4-1. 1 knockout, 3 submissions. So he's finished everyone. He himself has never been finished. This is his debut on short notice. Debut in LFA. He's won 4 straight fights. So he lost his debut in pro MMA. Reeled off 4 straight since then. That debut was back in October 2022. So he's on over a 2-year win streak here. As my voice cracks, I go through puberty. Mulisha is Do Nascimento's nickname. 9-3, 1 knockout, 6 submissions, never been finished in a fight. 3-2 in LFA, loss over his last 3. 5-2 over his last 7. Used to fight down at bantamweight. That's all I got for these 2 guys.
Yeah, Nascimento, in addition to being the much better fighter, also this being short notice, you got to imagine negative 375-ish on him. I think he's going to win. He's one of those fighters I had to talk about on this fight card. He has a submission win over Marcus McGee, and not that long ago either. I know that sounds crazy, and it was clear, a clear victory. He dabbled a little bit in the grappling. McGee turns to get up, and he hopped on his back so smooth and wound up choking him out. Very impressive win. And that's really what I like about Nascimento too, is that when he gets to grappling, there's no messing around. He goes right for what he wants, but doesn't do so in a way that makes you feel like he's risking his position. He's really sturdy in his positions, despite the fact that he's really going for it. I love that about him. And also he can crack on the feet. I really like his low leg kicks. He throws pretty nice combinations together. He's a really fun fighter to watch. He's actually coming off of, it was either his last fight or 2 fights ago, where he fought for the belt against John Sweeney, and really held his own in that fight. ultimately, like, Sweeney's jab just got going, and he was like a little bit, I would just say like a little bit better cardio ultimately held up for Sweeney, and like obviously the wrestling too. So like Sweeney wound up winning that fight, but like he was not out of his element in a fight against that guy. And now here we have him against Altomore, and like I watched a little Altomore because I wasn't familiar with him. You know, the obvious thing about him is that his level of competition is super low. You watch any of his fights and he's like scoring takedowns, and that's great and everything like that. But like you can tell the people who he's trying to defend those takedowns aren't really don't have a clue on what to do with even like a proficient level takedown. And really, while I think his takedown game is pretty good, I also think like his entry to the takedown game is actually not quite the level it needs to be to even fight most guys in LFA right now. He does like this head bobbing weave into range to go get the takedown, but he doesn't throw anything while he's doing it. There's like never a jab. There's never a hook to the body. There's never even like a feint that he's going to strike. All of a sudden, it's just like he's doing one of those drills with like the swinging bag, and he's just trying to stay out of the way of stuff while he tries to get closer for the takedown. And like, that's great against bad competition. But when you've got a guy who will rip the hell out of your legs in Nascimento here and has takedown defense for when you try that stuff, he's just going to pepper him with counters, going to hurt him a whole bunch. And ultimately, I don't think that's going to work. Now, Altomore is quick. I'll give him credit for that. But I just think the intention isn't, the intention and threading everything together isn't there. And as a result, Nascimento is going to beat him up. So I'll take Rafael do Nascimento. My guess is just south of -400.
See, that's why Gumby was up 40 units or whatever it was last year, because he knows this stuff. He actually watches the tape. If I was making a blind pick, I picked Nascimento too. So there you go. Haha. I should make now.
Over a 4-1 regional guy who's
exactly
just somebody 0-3. Oh,
making a short notice debut. How old did Marcus McGee look back in that fight?
He looked older, if possible.
Okay.
It was crazy. I was like, this fight, and it was only like 4 years ago, right?
Yeah.
I was like, this fight 4 years ago, that makes McGee, I think that makes him like 29 at the time or 28 at the time. And I was like, I wonder if he looks at least a little younger. And I saw him and I was like, if possible, he looks older. Maybe it's like skincare routine is picked up since he's been able to.
Yeah, he's got some money now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He's got that UFC money. We love you, Marcus McGee. I'm sure you're.
I love. He's so fun to watch.
Yeah, he's the best. He is the best. All right, before we move on, I gotta tell you about DraftKings. I don't have to. I want to. DraftKings is, before I jump into it, that is the book that we can say it because they're sponsors. That was a book we were getting out most of our futures from, our UFC futures from. So
and they're back on there too. Yes. They're back up.
And I think they're the same as, or at least the ones I checked were the same as they were when we did it weeks ago. So
the only thing I love more is Zhang Ming Yang's light heavyweight championship odds 1,000 to 1.
Oh yes, we like that. All right. Playoffs. We're talking about playoffs. We sure are. You bet we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning in the playoffs, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Where do you place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score 6. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. Obviously, it's not just NFL. They got MMA. We told you all about it. Plus, here's something you're going to want to listen to. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use our code SGP, please and thank you. That's code SGP for new customers. Get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Now, a friend has just come into the studio and he has something to tell you.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Gambling.
Amazing. Thank you. You can see yourself out. Okay.
Do you miss reading that?
No. That guy is so professional, eh? Wow. It makes me look even worse than normal.
He's good at what he does.
Thank you, sir. See yourself out. We will see you, I guess, next episode. Thank you. All right. let's move on, shall we? I wonder if he knows about LFA. He probably doesn't. He probably just has a really good voice.
Oh, they do that? Yeah. Oh, you mean the guy?
The book, yeah. The guy.
I thought you were. Yeah. I was like, DraftKings does.
DraftKings definitely
LFA odds
knows.
there all the time.
If they got UFC futures, they definitely have LFA odds. All right. Let's move up to, here we go. Heavyweight fight. Larry Gonzales, Billy Ray Valdez. Isn't Billy Ray Valdez? You've seen his picture, right? It's blurry.
I've seen him fight. What do you mean I've seen his picture?
Amazing. No, his picture on Tapology is great. He's got like a fro, but it's receding. He's blurry. It's a really good picture. A good name as well. Billy Ray Valdez, Larry Gonzales. They're both from the States. So I have to tell you that. Probably not. The names probably give it away. Valdez, 3-1, 2 knockouts, 1 submission. He's been knocked out once, so he's finished everyone. Looks like a guy who would be killed or be killed. 1-1 in LFA, 1 his last fight via TKO, 1-0 in pro boxing. Gonzales Oso is the nickname, which means bear. I know that from my kids watching Special Agent Oso cartoon. I think I was probably before your kids' time, right, Dan?
Yeah, I've never heard of that. Either it's Canadian as hell.
No, it's Disney Juniors. I don't know if Disney Junior is still a thing either, but yes. Well, we don't have Spanish shows like Oso. We would call him. How do you say bear in French? See, I can't remember now. Anyhow, Oso is 5-3 with 1 no contest, 3 knockouts, 1 submission. He's been knocked out once. 0-1 in LFA. He's lost 2 straight. Before that, he won 3 straight. Got TKO'd in his last fight. 0-1 in pro boxing. An inch taller than Valdez. A lot of these guys were breakdown. I don't even know their ages. That's how mysterious some of them are. All right, go ahead.
I mean, they're generic
heavyweight.
Generic regional heavyweight age, which is usually like 32, 33.
Exactly. Yeah, they're older than you would expect. Yeah.
And Billy Ray Valdez and Larry Gonzales are 2 guys I've already watched fight and vividly remember 2 of their fights. So when I saw this fight announced, I was like, sick. And the big reason why, both of them have losses to Steven Asplund.
Right. I forgot to mention that, but I'm glad you did. Yes.
Which is so random. But like, and both of those fights are what I use to handicap this fight, because if you watch the fight with Billy Ray Valdez, which is his only loss, his only TKO loss, it's actually a doctor's stoppage just because his face got absolutely blown up in about 1 round. And, you know, if you've ever watched Steven Asplund fight, and I know he's like a favorite of the show, but like most of the people listening maybe don't know, he's just a dude who was absolutely massive at one point in time in his life, has lost a bunch of weight, come down, fighting at heavyweight, has an impeccable cardio, and is just like a motor on the feet. Just like puts out punch after punch after punch after punch and does damage. I actually recently did an interview with one of his teammates who called him a butcher on the feet, is the way that he described him. And if you watch the Valdez fight, Valdez gets backed up for almost the entirety of that fight because he doesn't want anything to do with that. And basically, if you watch any of his fights, a lot of it is getting backed up against the cage, and then basically trying to wing a hook to get himself out of being backed up against the cage. And like, in the past, he's found that range, but against anybody who's like good at establishing range or understands pressure, like Steven Asplund did, he looks clueless in there. And after taking the punches from Steven Asplund, he looked exhausted. And that fight wasn't even all that long. It was actually kind of a quick fight. Then turn around and see Larry Gonzales. Larry Gonzales' fight with Steven Asplund was LFA's fight of the year because it was so good. Gonzales in that one takes a vicious beating early on. And dude, this guy's motor is insane. He just he could take a 2x4 upside the head and just keep walking through it. He got bloodied up by Asplund bad, but even in the 3rd fight, he was still there landing his own stuff. He had a really nice takedown in there. Like he's got some wrestling too. Like when he was finally like, I can't get punched in the face again. He got a takedown. You know, like, I think Valdez, being that his record is better, and, you know, I think Gonzales is coming off of back-to-back losses for that matter. Valdez is probably going to be a 3-1 favorite here. If you can get Larry Gonzales at plus 250, plus 275 or something like that, that's my underdog play here. I think Larry Gonzalez's cardio is going to carry the day. I also think the way he marches forward and puts pressure on is going to keep Valdez back up against the cage. And if he does that, he should be able to wear him down and win this fight.
All right, so you're going against the amazing-looking Billy Ray Valdez. Do you find when you're capping fights, is it good to, if if the fighters have I know it's MMA math, but if they have a common opponent, do you find that helpful watching them against the same opponent?
I would say only if the style of that fight tends to be the same. And the thing is about a Steven Asplund fight, it's like all of them are kind of stylistically the same, except for his like lone loss where he got taken down and like choked pretty quickly. But like when you're having that like cardio brawler kind of match, like I could just see where Larry Gonzales looked good in that cardio brawler kind of match, and Valdez is like the cardio didn't hold up as well. So as long as they have a similar style of fight.
There you go. I asked the hard-hitting questions. That's what I'm here for. All right, we're moving up to lightweights. Some fun names to say. Enkhtur Bayartsogt. Enkhtur Bayartsogt. I feel like I haven't butchered a name for a while. Say it properly now, please.
Enkhtur Bayartsogt.
They call me the language butcher. That could be my name. I think I've had a nickname like that actually recently. He is from Mongolia. Shovkhal Churchaev. He is from Russia. That name's not quite as hard. It got an EV at the end. So we know Gumby's picking him, so we just move on, but maybe we'll break it down. Lightweights. Churchaev. Actually, Gumby doesn't fall into the EV, OV trap.
No, that's Munaf. Munaf falls into
that's Munaf. Yep. Munaf the casual. Maybe in MMA. Not casual anywhere else. He knows his sports. All right. Churchaev, 5-2, 3 knockouts, 1 submission. Never been finished in a fight. This is his debut in LFA. He's 2-1 over his last 3. He did lose his last fight, though. He was a regional champ, 1-0 as a pro boxer. Bayartsogt. Did you tell me the name and I forgot already?
Bayartsogt.
I just assume Gumby is saying these names right. You could be just as bad
I could
as
be
I
as
am.
bad as you, yeah.
Occasionally, I think like once we both got called out for a pronunciation, but
the Polish pronunciation, I think.
Yes. Yeah. All right, this gentleman from Mongolia, I'll call him. He's 7-4, 5 knockouts, 2 submissions, so he's finished everyone. He's been knocked out twice, submitted once, so he owes his rounds. Damn it! This is his debut in LFA as well. He's won 3 straight fights. He's fought at pretty much every weight class: welterweight, light heavyweight, and then it was called open weight. I don't know what he weighed in for, but it was basically all the way up to heavyweight. So that's all I got.
So I actually think Bayartsogt is going to be a favorite here. Churchaev, first of all, you mentioned coming off of a loss, but also like hasn't really been fighting a ton of MMA in there. Like if you look at his record, he's been dabbling a lot more in boxing, kickboxing, boxing in a cage, kind of stuff. And I think, the fact that he's not been fully into MMA, I think is maybe going to drag those odds down. They should be close though, right? Because the records aren't all that different. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say like, negative 150 for Bayartsogt, and I'm going to go with him in this fight. I'm actually going to fade the EV here. The reason being is that if you watch Churchaev, like I said, he's pretty much all boxing from what I've seen. And like his boxing doesn't look great. And now on the other side, Bayartsogt doesn't either. He throws like hooks that seemingly come from his ribs. He punches the way that you would like imagine certain like action figures that have like a button on the back that punch. And so like that's not good, but I like his wrestling game quite a bit, which is something fairly common you see with Mongolian fighters, is that like they usually come from a base that has good wrestling. I've seen some of his fights where he's not even initiating the wrestling, but he's getting the better of all of the exchanges because he scrambles exceptionally well. And it does seem like no matter what, this guy is always looking for front headlock submissions, whether those be Doris, Anacondas, Marcellatines, things like that. Like he's always looking for something from that front headlock position. And, if he's up against a boxer who, isn't really fighting all that much in terms of MMA, you got to question whether or not the wrestling side of things is there, right? Like this guy seems like he would rather be a boxer, and you're going to put him in there with a Mongolian wrestler with good front headlock submissions. So like, I like what I've seen out of Bayartsogt.
It's not so easy, is it?
It's not. I really like what I've seen out of him in terms of the grappling. I hope the one caveat here would be like, I hope he doesn't think he's a better striker. Cause like, like I said, he throws those weird hooks and they seemingly kind of work for him sometimes, but like, it just seems like he should have a huge advantage in the wrestling here. And as long as he goes to that, he should win at kind of reduced odds for us.
Yeah. Lean into your strengths until you're on the Contender Series. And then you have to, fight differently. so the boss hires you. All right. Bayartsogt is the pick for Gumby. Let's hit you up with the co-main event. Big boys with great nicknames. Josh Hokit John Lopez, 3 5-minute rounds if they need it, 265. Lopez, big for nothing. Interesting. That nickname actually fits someone else I know. All right, this big for nothing gentleman is 2-1, 2 knockouts. He's been knocked out once. He has his rounds. Damn it. LFA debut, win-loss win is his pattern over his career. Based off the weigh-in info we have for these guys, he was 14 pounds heavier than Hokit. I think he was like 256. Hokit was 242, if I remember correctly. I don't know why those things like that stick in my head, and more important things don't. I don't know. He's 3 inches taller than Hokit. The Incredible Hulk. See, they both have good nicknames.
I didn't know that one.
The Incredible Hulk, HOK. Very good nick. Both of them are great. I may end up stealing both of them at some point. He's 2-0 with 2 submissions. This is his debut as well. Both his fights took place in Bellator, though. So he's stepping down or up. Who's to say? 7 years younger than Lopez.
So Bellator doesn't exist anymore. So that's
true.
Of the problem.
RIP.
The other thing I would say is the reason he was signed to Bellator is he has the best base for any heavyweight ever. Do you know what that base is?
I'm trying to think of something funny. I would say wrestling, but I'm sure it's something funny, like Kung Fu or something.
No, it's pro football.
Yes,
obviously.
UFC didn't grab him.
No. Well, I mean, UFC liked that like 10 years ago, but then they gave up on it when they realized the best thing they ever got out of that was Matt Mitrione. But like Bellator still loves it. So, Hokit was a practice squad guy for a couple of teams in the NFL. He played some high-level college football. As a result, coming from Bellator, being 2-0 against a guy who's 2-1, I'm expecting -500, -600 odds on Hokit here. They got him in the co-main event because they love this guy. And actually for like pretty good reason. Like I don't love either of these guys' striking game. Like I don't think Hokit's a really good striker. And you might expect him to be this like bulldog of a wrestler, being that he comes from a tackle football background and all that kind of stuff. He's actually not all that great of a wrestler either, but he has insanely good jiu-jitsu, which is kind of like weird and shocking.
Yeah,
like his transitions are sick. Like he transitioned off the back to grab an armbar in one of the fights that I saw. And I was like, whoa, like when do you see a heavyweight move like that? And he's a Jackson Wink guy too, which is like, of course, gives me like questions. I mean, like, I guess you could sort of see like Maurice Green's grappling game in him, right? Because Maurice Green, not always the best heavyweight, but there's like always a fun grappler. And so, like, I think that's good. Now, the only, like I said, I don't love his striking, so I'm not ready for him to fight somebody like super good yet. He's mostly like an overhand right and then panic when somebody wants to return fire on him. But like if you watch Lopez is sort of a slower guy. And in addition to being slower, like as time goes on, he just gets slower and slower and sloppier and sloppier. Like his wrestling looks decent out the gate, but I don't think he wants to be on the mat with Hokit in the first place. And then, like, if Hokit just like, even if he just fails on 2 takedowns early, I think he's going to tire Lopez out. So give me Josh Hokit. If DraftKings hit you up with some of those prop bets, like they sometimes do, Hokit sub all day. Make the odds a little bit nicer for yourself and get them on sub.
What was your the money line, you think?
I guess 500, 600, range.
No good. So you're saying Lopez is big for nothing, is what you're saying?
I'm saying he's probably pretty big for nothing.
Actually, you're saying both their nicknames are actually the Incredible Hulk. It's incredible.
Yeah, he's pretty good. I mean, I'll tell you what. LFA put a 2-0 heavyweight in the co-main event, and I was like, and then I watched and I was like, oh, actually, you know what? This is fine. So there's that.
Contender series in his future, you would think?
I think he's probably a year and a half away, would be my guess. Like,
how old is he?
I mean, he's a heavyweight, so he's young enough.
Yeah.
My
he's 7 years younger actually than Lopez, so he's not. He is. Sorry to interrupt. 27. So yeah, young enough.
So my guess is Contender Series 2026.
How's that, bro? Too bad we can't get down to those odds. Come on, DraftKings, put those up.
Yeah. Josh Hokit to make Contender Series in 2026.
We've seen some silly ones. Like who was it that was going to be ranked by the end of the year?
Yeah, will Sean Woodson be in the top 10?
Yes, that's what it was. Yeah. All right, before we move on, Underdog Pick'em is one of the biggest menus for all sports. Underdog is always making it easier to win with profit boost and gimme pick'ems. Underdog Playoff Best Ball is now live. The Gauntlet Tournament has $2 million in prizes up for grabs for just $20 $5 entry. NFL, college football, college basketball, MMA, NBA, NASCAR, and more. And you can now use special boost on all your flex entries. Gummy's going to give you a play right now.
Yeah, Sunday Night Football is maybe one of the few meaningful games left in Week 18 because a lot of people are resting people, but nobody's going to be resting in the Vikings versus Lions game. So I'm, of course, going to give you a play from there. I'll take the higher than on Amon-Ra St. Brown's receiving yards. That number's crept down a little bit towards the end of the year, but I think he's going to have a really big game here against the Vikes.
They're going for top seed in the playoffs, right?
That's right. They're going to, the only first round bye in the NFC will belong to one of those two teams.
All right. Sign up with our code MMASGPN to claim your special pick and first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MMASGPN. And SGPN's proud partner, Rhythm, is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds. Get predictions for betting on money line spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model, copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard, or have Rhythm build a model for you. You can now track props in the Rhythm app, NFL picks, NFL props, college football, college basketball, and NBA. Rhythm has it all. Al Horford props, yes, of course, they have it all. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RTHMM. All right, to the main event. It is a makeshift main event, but Gumby says he prefers this one, so even better. 3 5-minute rounds at 145. Ari Farias, Brazil. Erick Visconde from Brazil as well. Let's break it down. Visconde Sabugo, which translates to cob, I believe, like corn on the cob, I assume. Do you know anything about this?
I don't.
Yes, corn cob, perhaps. 14-3, 4 knockouts, 6 submissions. He's been submitted 1 time. He's taking this fight on short notice. It's really short, right? Like I had already almost started my prep for it, and then you told me the fight changed, right? So it's like a week notice, maybe.
Yeah, a week or more. But also, I think he might have had advance notice because you can see like a clear change in like social media posts for pretty much everybody who was no longer promoting the other main event fighter like a little while ago.
Okay, cool. All right, Mr. Cobb, 14-3, 4 knockouts, 6 submissions. He's been submitted once. I told you all that. Short notice, 1-1 in LFA, 7-1 over his last 8. He did win his last fight. He's got multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt or this shirt. It won't be as faded. It's our store, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. Get sticky. Also, used to fight at bantamweight, 7 years younger than Farias, an inch taller. Farias is Astro Boy, 14-4, 2 knockouts, 8 submissions. He's been knocked out twice. 2-2 in LFA. He's won 2 straight and 4 of 5. He also has multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt, like I said, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store, or a hat. I got a nice toque because I'm Canadian. I got a SGPN toque, so get it all in our store. Used to fight at bantamweight, 2014 pro MMA debut, 6-5-1 as a pro grappler, world champion in that IBJJ or whatever it's called, right? Yeah,
IBJJF.
Yeah, right. He won the world championship in that. Won a bunch of Brazilian national championships too. 5 inches of reach over Visconde.
So I'm imagining that this fight, like if I were to line it regularly, I would guess the books would like Farias at like -175. Being that it's late replacement, I'm going to say it'd probably creep up into the twos, -215, -220 or something like that. So you're probably going to get Visconde at like +185. And I'm actually going to go with the late replacement. I'm going to go with Erick Visconde. The reason being is that, you mentioned Farias has got the reach. He also has a terrible sense of range and no head movement. He's a guy who came to MMA and then like didn't really commit to coming to MMA, in my opinion. Like he is a jiu-jitsu specialist who is kind of still a jiu-jitsu specialist. He's 35 years old at this point. It's not like that's really going to change. And like, we haven't seen huge improvements on his feet pretty much in the last like half dozen fights or something like that. He continues to be what he is. And what he is an adequate wrestler with very high level jiu-jitsu. High level to the point where he catches just about anybody who wants to, play in that realm, but is going to be the worst striker in a lot of instances. And I think he's going to be a worse striker here against Visconde. And Visconde's kind of a good defensive and offensive wrestler. He's got a lot of body lock trip takedowns. He does a really good job of digging for underhooks. So like if Farias keeps shooting takedowns on him, as long as he gets those underhooks and backs away, chooses to brawl instead, I think he's going to get way better of the striking exchanges. And then in addition to that, like I would not be surprised if he shot a takedown on Farias and Farias accepted it because he just wants to be on the ground. And then like you're basically getting 2-1 money believing that Visconde can stay safe on top. And I kind of think he can. Like he's got a good submission game in his own right. It's not like he is, he's not a world champion jiu-jitsu specialist, but he is, like above average when it comes to his submission skills. So like I could see him just taking, top half guard and just chilling there, landing some punches, staying out of trouble. Farias digging for some knee bars and stuff like that, and maybe creating some scrambles. But at the end of the day, I think Visconde lights him up on the feet and stays safe on the mat. So if we're going to get damn near 2-1 money on that, give me Visconde.
Gonna be going against tight. He's taking a more striking, a striker over a grappler here, which is
he's still a grappler too.
Yeah, he is. Yep. Yep. All right, give you a recap here. He's got Visconde. He's got Hokit. He's got Bayartsogt. He's got Gonzales. He's got Nascimento. Now, time for the lightning round. Zap, bam, boom, pow. This is where Gumby gives out a couple bonus picks for you. And he's going to track them this year. So they're going to do good.
We talked about Theo Haig right at the beginning. I mentioned he's going to be one of my lightning round picks. They clearly want this guy to win. Absolutely sick jiu-jitsu game. Guy's 5-0, huge prospect. They're lining him up with a 7-7 opponent. I don't know if his actual opponent fell through or, man, they just want this guy to light somebody up. Probably a pretty reasonable pick for any parlays that you're trying to put together. I don't know how much he'll move those lines because, he might wind up being an astronomical favorite, but he really should be an astronomical favorite. So Theo Haig is the first one. The second one you mentioned was Shaler Ladd. He is fighting the name that Jeff hinted at the beginning, Thailando Mattress, which is just a fantastic name. He goes by TK Mattress.
That's pretty funny too. It sounds more like a store when you say it like that.
Yeah, TK Mattress is like where you got your sheets, but like Thailando Mattress is awesome. But with that being said, I actually like both the guys in this fight, but I like Shaler Ladd more. Shaler Ladd, 10-0 amateur, little brother of Aspen Ladd, believe it or not.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, and really quick, really fast for a light heavyweight, super skilled. Nice little wrestling game. Got like a nice single leg takedown. And like the reason I like Mattress is I watched his last MMA fight and I was like, this dude is so fast for a big chunky heavyweight because he was like a big old heavyweight, like a 260 heavyweight, moving so fast. And then I saw he was fighting Shaler Ladd and I was like, I thought Ladd was a light heavyweight. And I looked, and this fight is happening at light heavyweight. I then found a clip of Thailando Mattress coming down to light heavyweight for a kickboxing match. So like he's successfully lost all that weight. But here's the problem is that like I liked him as a heavyweight because he's so much faster than you expect a heavyweight on the regional scene like that to be. Yeah. And I was like, oh man, that'll play up. And immediately they're feeding him to a light heavyweight who's already going to gain speed by being a light heavyweight, and then a fast one at that in Shaler Ladd. So like, as much as I like Thailando Mattress and I have his name like circled for lightning round picks in the future when his name pops up again, like this is a nightmare matchup. Like Aspen Ladd's little bro here is going to be so much quicker, and that's kind of always what's made Mattress good. So I'm going to go Shaler Ladd, Theo Haig for my 2 lightning round picks.
Any similarities to his sister fighting wise or not?
No, he's got cardio. Seems to have intent in his strikes too. That, by the way, we're ragging on Aspen Ladd. That was the end of her UFC stint. She was great in the early parts of her UFC stint.
Yeah, we had high hopes for her. Yeah. So didn't pan out. Where is she now? Bellator RIP. She's one of those fighters in limbo, probably, right?
Yeah, because she can't get a fight. She can't make flyweight, which is the only division they had last year. I don't know which divisions they're doing in 2025. They seem to have not announced that.
Yeah, plus, I'm sure she has a decent contract. If you're making good money, they're not going to book you. It seems either at this point. So, all right, you're all set for LFA 199. Change in our programming schedules. We're going to be Sundays, Wednesdays, Thursdays now on the SGPN network. So Sundays will be top regional promotion. Our top pick of the week this week is LFA. Then Wednesday, Thursday, UFC is back, baby. So we're going to cover UFC. A pretty solid UFC Vegas fight card. We're going to be covering on Wednesday prelims, Thursday main card. Obviously, you can hit us up in the Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. Social media, Gumby runs the account for the SGPN MMA show. So SGPN MMA is the handle for that. He is at Gumby Vreeland. I'm at Jeff Fox Writer there, and on Instagram as well. Of course, YouTube. Thank you if you are watching on YouTube. You can hit us up with the in the comments if there's any questions or comments about anything. Gumby, if you get a legit answer back, it's Gumby. If you get a joke answer back, it's me. So that would be MMA Gambling Podcast. So thank you for subscribing there. I've got my Substack. I've got my Pick'em contest up and running. SGPN actually sponsors a couple of them a month. So giving away gift cards thanks to the good people at SGPN. So check out my Substack, moneymma.substack.com. Gumby is Top Turtle MMA Podcast up and running again this week, I assume, right?
Yeah. We're going to be talking to Jose Johnson about an absolutely insane amateur career that he had. And then also we're talking to a 90% confirmed Ultimate Fighter contestant for Katsbek Yokubov.
All right. You had the interview, but him being on Contender Series is not confirmed.
Is not. Yeah, he told me he is. This is a little spoiler alert for our episode that'll drop in a day or two. He has told me he is 90% confirmed to be on the Ultimate Fighter this year.
Right. I said Contender Series. It is the Ultimate Fighter, Gumby's favorite show. So, all right, awesome. So check all that out. And of course, we are sportsgamblingpodcast.com, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store, and sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. We should talk to you Wednesday, like I said, for a very good UFC Vegas event. It'll be Big for Nothing, Jeff Fox, the incredible Daniel Vreeland. We'll talk to you then.